No Screen Time Stories presents. In a dusty corner of Umueza village, 19-year-old Amara stood barefoot beside her family's small clay house, clutching a basin of cassava. Her face, usually warm with laughter, was drawn with worry. Behind her, voices rose, tense and desperate. Inside the house, her father, Papa Ifeanyi, knelt before three angry men in black shirts. Their arms were thick, their eyes unforgiving. "You said 1 week," the tallest shouted. "It's been a month, old man." Papa Ifeanyi's hands trembled. "Please, just a little more time. I swear I will pay." One of them stepped closer, kicking over a stool. "Your land isn't enough. You owe more than soil can pay." Amara peered through the window, heart pounding. She didn't need to hear more. Her father had borrowed money to treat her mother's illness, but Mama had died anyway, and the debt remained like a shadow over them. That evening, Papa Ifeanyi returned home with swollen eyes and a cracked lip. Amara knelt beside him, sobbing. "Papa, what do we do now?" He took her hands in his, eyes glazed with guilt. "Amara, I found a way. There is a young man, quiet, no family. He agreed to take care of you. If you marry him, they will leave us alone." Amara recoiled. "A stranger? No, I can work harder. I'll go to the city." "You are my only hope," he whispered, tears falling freely. "They said they'll burn the house down." The next morning, Amara met him. Clinton stood by the village well, wearing a faded shirt and old sandals. He looked younger than she expected, tall, clean, but painfully quiet. He didn't meet her eyes. "This is him," Papa said quietly. "He's a good man, just poor." Amara stared at the man who now held her future. Her heart screamed, "This is not love. This is a trap." But the wedding was set for 7 days later. As the sun dipped below the hills, Amara sat alone outside, watching the sky melt from gold to gray. A butterfly landed on her hand, weightless and silent, like a sign. She whispered to herself, "Even if this life chose me, I will find a way to choose my future." And somewhere, deep within the quiet man named Clint, a secret stirred. A secret worth billions. That's... The wedding was nothing like the one Amara had dreamed of as a little girl. No music floating through the air, no laughter, just whispered prayers, a borrowed white dress, and a silent groom standing beside her like a tree rooted in unfamiliar soil. Clinton said his vows quietly, barely looking up. Amara's voice cracked when it was her turn. She didn't know this man. She didn't love him. But she said the words anyway, for her father and for the roof over their heads. The ceremony was over in minutes. That night, Clinton led her to a modest one-room cottage at the edge of the village. The zinc roof creaked. The windows were cracked. A single wooden bed stood in the corner, beside a small table and a lantern. Clinton gestured toward the bed. "You can have it," he said. "I'll sleep on the mat." Amara glanced at him. His voice was low, respectful, but empty of warmth. She sat on the edge of the bed, arms folded tightly. "Why did you agree to this?" she asked. "Why marry someone who doesn't even know you?" Clinton was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Sometimes people do things they don't want to, for peace." She turned away. "That's not love." He didn't respond. Days passed. Amara cooked in silence. Clinton worked long hours repairing furniture for villagers, returning each day covered in sawdust and sweat. He never asked for anything, never shouted, never touched her. He carved at night, quietly in the corner. One night, she saw what he was making. A rose, out of wood. The detail was breathtaking. Every petal curved like the real thing. She reached out, but he gently pulled it away. "It's not finished." Amara stared at him. There was something about his hands, rough but skilled, precise. And his eyes, though tired, held secrets. Why would a man like him, poor, quiet, mysterious, know how to carve something so beautiful? And why, no matter how much she told herself to hate him, did part of her start to wonder? Amara stood by the window, arms crossed tightly across her chest, watching Clinton work outside. His shirt clung to his back with sweat as he lifted a broken bench onto his work table. The same routine, day after day. No music, no laughter. Just the sound of wood being sawed, hammered, sanded, and silence. It had been 2 weeks since the wedding, and she still felt like a guest in her own life, in her own marriage. Every morning, Clinton left early and returned just before dusk. Every evening, he set his tools aside and carved quietly in the corner of their one-room cottage. He didn't disturb her. He didn't ask for affection. He never even raised his voice. And yet, there was something strange about him, something that didn't match the image of a poor man. His clothes were simple but clean, his manner polite. His silence didn't feel empty. It felt calculated, almost like someone hiding something. That night, the lantern flickered as the wind picked up. Rain tapped softly on the roof. Amara turned from the window. "Why do you carve every night?" she asked without looking at him. Clinton paused, knife in hand. The half-carved rose rested on his knee. "It keeps my hands busy," he replied. She walked over, hesitant, and looked down at the rose. The petals looked so delicate, like they might wilt if she breathed too hard. "It's beautiful," she whispered. He looked up at her for the first time that day. "You can have it when it's finished." Amara sat across from him. "Did you learn this in school?" He shook his head. "No, I learned by watching and failing." She noticed a scar across his left palm, thin and deep. "That from failing too?" Clinton's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Yes, I was impatient." For a moment, the walls between them thinned. Not gone, but thinner. The next morning, Amara woke up to find her basin missing. Annoyed, she walked outside and found Clear the River scrubbing it clean. "I was going to do that," she muttered. Clinton didn't respond. "I'm not helpless, you know," she said, louder this time. Still, no reply, just the gentle swish of water. Frustrated, she stomped back to the cottage, but paused as she passed his work table. Something shiny caught her eye beneath the cloth. She pulled it back slightly and gasped. A gold wristwatch. Elegant, modern. Not the kind sold in the village. Definitely not cheap. She quickly covered it back, heart thudding. Why would a poor man have a luxury watch? That evening, Clinton handed her the finished wooden rose. "It's for you," he said softly, "to remind you that beauty can come from something broken." Amara took it carefully. The rose felt warm in her hand. Real. She met his eyes, dark, unreadable. "You surprise me," she said. He gave a slight nod. "Good. Most people stop looking after they judge." That night, Amara lay awake, the rose on her bedside table. Her heart was full of thoughts she couldn't name. Clinton was a poor man, a quiet man, a stranger. But deep down, something told her he was not what he seemed. And the biggest question yet was forming in her mind. What is he hiding? It was early morning, and Amara was sweeping the front of their cottage when she heard a strange hacking sound from inside. She dropped the broom and rushed back in, just in time to see Clinton slump against the table, gripping his chest. "Clinton," she cried, rushing to his side. "Are you all right?" He waved her off weakly. "I'm fine. Just dust in my throat." But Amara didn't believe him. His face had gone pale, his breathing labored. She helped him lie down and fetched him water. It was the first time she had ever touched him with care. His skin felt warm, too warm. "I'll get the herbalist," she said. "No," Clinton muttered, grabbing her hand. His grip was surprisingly strong. "I just need rest, please. No fuss." She hesitated, but nodded. "Only if you promise to lie down the rest of the day." He gave a faint smile. "As you wish." Later, while he rested, Amara busied herself with chores. She swept again, cleaned dishes, fed the goats behind the cottage. But her mind kept drifting back to the cough, to the way his eyes clouded with pain, to the gold watch she had seen and never mentioned. What kind of poor man hides a gold watch and refuses to see a healer? She entered the house quietly and began tidying up. As she picked up Clinton's shirt from the floor to hang it on a nail, a small folded paper fell out of the pocket. She paused. It wasn't just paper, it was a letter, slightly torn at the corner, folded into thirds. Her fingers tingled as she picked it up. She knew it was wrong to open it, but something deeper than curiosity tugged at her. She unfolded it slowly. "Dear Mr. Clinton Obiora, we are pleased to confirm your participation in the shareholders meeting for Obiora Industries, scheduled for May 18th in Lagos. Your father's seat remains reserved, and your discretion is appreciated during this period of anonymity. A jet will be available at your request." Amara stared at the letter, her heart pounding. Shareholders meeting? Obiora Industries? Jet? She read the letter again and again. Each time, the words made less sense, but hit harder. She had heard of Obiora Industries. Everyone had. One of Nigeria's largest conglomerates. They dealt in oil, construction, shipping. They were billionaires. She slowly refolded the letter and placed it back in the pocket. Then she sat on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking. Who exactly had she married? Clinton stirred a few hours later. Amara had lit the lantern and was seated in the far corner, staring into space. He noticed the expression on her face immediately. Distant, calculating. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded. "Are you?" He nodded, sitting up carefully. "Yes, just tired." Amara's eyes remained on him. "Clinton, who are you really?" He met her gaze but said nothing. A long silence stretched between them. Finally he stood. "I think I'll take a walk." Amara didn't stop him. She watched as he stepped outside and walked into the night. And as the door closed behind him, she whispered to the empty room, "You're not poor, are you?" The days after Amara discovered the letter passed like slow-burning candles. Her heart was no longer calm. It burned with questions she didn't know how to ask. Every time Clinton passed her, his silence screamed louder. She noticed things she had ignored before. The way he measured people with a single glance. The books he read, economic journals, business magazines, even foreign newspapers, all neatly stacked under the bed. And then there was the call that came one evening. She had just returned from the market, clutching a small bag of yam and dried fish. Clinton wasn't back yet. The phone on the shelf rang, an old device, the kind villagers mostly use for missed calls and emergencies. "Curious," she answered. "Sir?" A crisp male voice said on the line. "We've confirmed the transfer to the Swiss account. Should we proceed with the Nairobi contract?" Amara froze. "Hello?" the voice asked again. "Sir?" She slowly lowered the phone and ended the call without speaking. Her hands trembled. Swiss account? Nairobi contract? No carpenter in Umweze was moving money between continents. She was married to a man she didn't know at all. That night, Clinton returned to find her sitting silently by the window. He didn't ask questions. He rarely did. But his eyes lingered on her face, just a second longer than usual. She didn't sleep that night. 3 days later, it was her birthday. She hadn't told Clinton. She hadn't expected him to know. Since her mother died, birthdays had become quiet days of reflection, not celebration. But when she returned from fetching water that morning, she found the cottage unusually quiet. The table was cleared. A small cloth bag sat in the center, tied with a red ribbon. She approached it cautiously, unsure. There was no note. She untied the ribbon and opened the bag. Her breath caught. Inside was a necklace. Delicate silver with a pendant shaped like a crescent moon, embedded with a single blue sapphire. It shimmered in the morning light like a captured tear. She stared at it, speechless. Clinton emerged from the back, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Happy birthday," he said, not meeting her eyes. She held it up. "Where did you get this?" He paused. "It belonged to my mother. I kept it for someone who would deserve it." Amara's voice cracked. "You told me your parents died when you were a boy." He finally looked at her then. "Not everything I say is a lie, but not everything I say is the whole truth." She gripped the necklace tighter, torn between awe and anger. "This isn't something a poor man gives his wife," she said. Clinton said nothing. "Are you going to tell me the truth?" she asked, louder now. He took a step forward, then stopped. "Not yet, but soon." "Why not now?" He hesitated. "Then, because if you knew everything, you might not believe I ever loved you for real." She was stunned into silence. Then she whispered, "You love me?" He didn't reply, but something passed between them, raw, real, uncertain. That night, she wore the necklace to bed, not because she trusted him, but because a part of her heart had started to. And outside the cottage, under the moonlight, Clinton sat alone, staring at the sky, wondering how much longer he could hide who he really was. Rain hammered the roof of the cottage like an army of small fists. The sky was dark and restless. Amara stood in the middle of the room, staring at the necklace Clinton had given her, the silver crescent now glowing faintly in the lantern light. She hadn't worn it today. Her heart was tangled. Everything about her husband was a puzzle. A man who carved roses out of wood like a poet, but hid gold watches in drawers. A man who spoke in quiet, clipped sentences but transferred money to Swiss accounts. A man who said nothing but carried the weight of the world in his silence. And now he had said he loved her. Amara didn't know what to do with that. She sat by the window, watching as lightning slashed across the sky, and then, through the pouring rain, she saw a car. Not a rickety village van, a black SUV, sleek, expensive, tires crunching softly against the muddy road. It stopped at the edge of their compound. Two men stepped out, tall, dressed in suits. One held an umbrella. The other didn't seem to care that he was getting wet. Clinton stepped out from behind the house, as if he had been expecting them. Amara's heart jumped. She pressed herself to the window, watching as they spoke in low voices. Clinton looked different in the rain, sharper, straighter, like a man who wasn't trying to hide anymore. He took a file from one of the men, flipped through it, and nodded. Then he handed them a small envelope. Moments later, the SUV disappeared into the storm. When he returned inside, dripping wet, Amara didn't speak right away. She simply handed him a towel and sat on the bed. He knew. She knew. The silence felt like a third person in the room. "I saw them," she said finally. Clinton nodded. "You said you were poor." "I am. Just not in the way you think." She stood. "No more riddles. I want answers. Not next week. Not soon. Now." He looked into her eyes for a long time. Then slowly, carefully, he sat down and said, "My real name is Chukwudi Clinton Obiora. My father was Chief Nnamdi Obiora, the founder of Obiora Industries." Amara's world stopped spinning. "I ran away," he continued, 5 years ago. After my father died, I was expected to take over the empire. But the board, my uncles, business sharks, politicians, they all tried to control me. They wanted me to be a puppet. He looked down at his hands. So I disappeared, changed my name, cut ties with the company. I wanted to see the world for what it was. Live as a normal man, not as a crown prince of wealth. Amara was silent. Every breath felt heavy. "You chose my village to hide?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He gave a small smile. "I chose the village because it was honest, because people here don't pretend, and because I met your father one day at the bus park. He was coughing badly, trying to sell cassava. I gave him money. He refused, said he wasn't a beggar." She gasped. "You gave him money, and he told you about me?" Clinton nodded. "He told me he had a daughter who deserved better than this life, but he had nothing left to give her. I told him I'd marry her, not out of pity, but because something told me she might just save me too." Amara's legs gave out and she sat down. "You married me to find peace?" she asked. He nodded. "And I found something else." She swallowed hard. "Love?" He didn't say the word again. He just looked at her with so much intensity that she had to look away. Later that night, Amara sat outside, the rain now a gentle mist. Clinton joined her in silence. "Why did you keep it from me?" she asked quietly. "Because I didn't want you to love me for what I had," he said. "I wanted to know if you could ever love who I am without the billions." She thought about the months of cooking, cleaning, loneliness, about the wooden rogues, about the necklace, about the man who never touched her without permission, who saw her pain, but gave her dignity in silence. And then, very softly, she said, "I don't know if I love you yet, but I no longer hate you." He smiled. "That's enough for now." The moon emerged through the clouds. The truth had finally stepped into the light. But now that the mask had fallen, one question remained. What would happen when the rest of the world found out who Clinton really was? 3 days after Clinton's confession, Amara had yet to tell anyone. Not her neighbors. Not even Mama Chidi, who came by every other morning with boiled groundnuts and endless questions. She wasn't ready. And somehow, Clinton had become even more quiet. Less like a man hiding a secret, and more like someone afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. But peace, like thin glass, cracks easily. It began with a knock on the door. Amara opened it to find a stranger. A woman, tall, striking, dressed in city clothes, sunglasses perched on her head. She held herself like someone who had never been denied anything. "Amara, I presume?" she said with a faint, polished accent. Amara nodded slowly. "I'm Adaora Obiora," the woman said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Clinton's fiancé." Time seemed to stop. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" Amara whispered. Adaora brushed a speck of dust off her sleeve. "You heard me. Clinton is engaged to me, was anyway, until he vanished like a coward." Before Amara could reply, Clinton stepped out of the cottage. His face paled when he saw the woman. "Adaora," he said. "Not a question. Not a welcome." "So it's true," she said coldly. "You really married a village girl." Clinton stepped between them. "You don't belong here. Leave." Adaora smirked. "Oh, but I do. You see, your uncle sent me. The board is in chaos. Investors are panicking. And the press, well, they've sniffed out a story. A missing heir, living poor, married to a nobody? That's gold." Amara looked between them, her chest tightening. "You were engaged?" she asked Clint, voice trembling. "I was arranged," he said quickly. "It was never love. It was a business merger. I told my father no." "But you kissed me," Adaora cut in. "More than once." Or have you forgotten? Clinton looked away. Amara felt the room tilt. So she's not lying? No, he said softly. But it was over before I came here. Long before. Adora laughed. You think a little village wedding dissolves corporate promises? You think you can throw away your name for a goat and a pretty face? Clinton's voice dropped low. Dangerous. I don't care what the board thinks, or what you think. I made my choice. Adaora turned to Amara, her voice silk-wrapped poison. You really think you're special, don't you? He's playing house now. But wait until Lagos pulls him back. Wait until the private jets and inheritance papers come calling. She turned to leave, then paused. We'll meet again, in court if nothing else. The SUV door slammed. The tires spat mud, then silence. Amara stood frozen in the doorway. You lied, she whispered. Clinton reached for her. Amara, I told you everything I could. No, she said, stepping back. You told me what made you look noble. You left out the parts that made you look weak. She walked inside, shut the door softly behind her, and locked it. That night, Clinton slept in the goat shed. He didn't argue, didn't protest, just lay quietly among the hay, the rain whispering overhead. Inside, Amara sat at the table, staring at her wedding ring. It was simple. Gold, thin. She pulled it off and placed it beside the wooden rose. Then whispered, You said you didn't want to be a puppet. But now I wonder, how many people you're still dancing with? And as the wind rose outside, so did her fear. Because when love begins with lies, how can you ever know what's real? The morning after Clinton slept in the goat shed, the village woke to whispers. Not about the rain or the harvest or the new school project. No. This morning, the talk was about Amara, about the strange car that had visited, about the woman with sunglasses and city perfume who had marched into her compound like she owned the land. And most importantly, about Clinton. Did you hear? He's not just a carpenter, he's a billionaire's son. They say his real name is Chukwudi Obiora. Ha! So Amara married into money after all. This girl get luck, Sha. Amara walked through the market with her head low, clutching her basket. Tomatoes. Ogbono. Snails. She barely noticed what her hands picked. She was too busy hearing every word whispered behind her back. Some people looked at her with awe, others with envy. But the worst looked at her with suspicion. Mama Uche, the fish seller, leaned over her stall as Amara passed. So this is what your silence was hiding in? You've been playing poor while swimming in secret wealth. Amara stiffened. I didn't know. Mama Uche raised a brow. That's what they all say, until they buy the first generator. She walked away, her heart beating like a war drum. By the time she got back home, she found Clinton washing his hands outside, shirtless and silent. He looked up as she approached. You heard, he said. Everyone has, she replied. They stood in silence. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, Clinton said. Amara dropped the basket. But it did. He looked down. I'll leave if you want me to. She paused. The anger was still there, sharp and bitter. But now a new emotion swirled inside her. Fear. Fear of being left again. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as a woman who used a man for money. You said you loved me, she said. I still do. Then stay, but no more secrets. He nodded solemnly. She turned to go inside, but paused. Oh, and there's something else. He looked up. There's a woman at the palace, a girl I grew up with. Her name is Onyeka. She was Adaora's friend once. I sent her a message. He straightened. What for? To find out what kind of woman your family tried to marry you to. If I'm going to be in this mess, I need to know who I'm standing against. Clinton's eyes softened. You're standing with me? She didn't answer, but she didn't say no. That evening, as the sun set over Umueze, a letter arrived. Not from Lagos, from someone closer. The letter was unsigned, written in neat, unfamiliar handwriting. You think you've won, Amara, but you don't know the war you've entered. If you care about Clinton, tell him to leave Umueze before the 10th, or he won't survive what's coming. There was no name, just the warning, and the shadow of a war neither of them had seen coming. The warning letter burned in Amara's hands. She read it 3 times. The words echoed in her mind, chilling and absolute. If you care about Clinton, tell him to leave Umueze before the 10th. The 10th was only days away. Her first instinct was to hide the letter, to pretend it never arrived. But she knew she couldn't. She found Clinton sharpening his tools under the shade of the mango tree. His hands moved methodically, but his eyes were distant. Clinton, she called softly. He looked up. She handed him the letter. He read it slowly, his jaw tightening. This is serious, he said at last. They want to scare me off. But this is only the beginning. Who? Amara asked. He shook his head. I don't know. My uncles? Adora's people? Or someone worse? Amara swallowed hard. What do we do? We prepare, he said. I'll speak to Onyeka. She knows their moves. Later that day, Clinton left for the palace to meet Onyeka, the woman Amara had contacted. Alone, Amara sat by the fire, her mind racing. How deep did this danger go? Could she trust Clinton to protect her? Just then, footsteps approached. Mama Chidi, the village healer, came in carrying a small basket. I hear trouble, child, she said gently. Amara nodded. A letter, a warning. Mama Chidi sighed. The world is not kind to those who step out of place. Do you think they'll hurt him? Mama Chidi looked deep into Amara's eyes. The powerful have many ways, but you must be strong, for yourself, for him. Amara felt tears sting her eyes. I don't want to lose him, she whispered. Mama Chidi smiled softly. Then hold him close, and hold on to your heart. Meanwhile, at the palace, Clinton met Onyeka in a dimly lit room. She was calm, calculating. We don't have much time, she said. Adora's family is planning a takeover. They want to control Obiora Industries completely. And me? Clinton asked. You're the key. They think if they remove you, the company falls into chaos. They don't care how much damage that does to you. Clinton clenched his fists. Then they'll have to get through me. Onyeka reached into her bag and handed him a small USB drive. This has all the files, evidence of corruption inside the board. You need it to fight back. Clinton nodded, a fire lighting behind his eyes. Back at Umweze, Amara watched the stars. Her heart was heavy, but a new determination grew inside her. If the world wanted to fight, then she would stand with Clinton, no matter what it cost. The sun dipped low over Umweze as Clinton returned from the palace, his steps heavier than usual. Amara met him at the gate, her eyes searching his face. What did Onyeka say? She asked. Clinton pulled out the USB drive, fingers tightening around it. She gave me evidence of corruption inside Obiora Industries, he said. My uncles have been siphoning money, forging documents, and plotting to take over the company. Adora is their pawn. Amara's breath caught. But why send you a warning letter? Why not come out in the open? Clinton shook his head. Because power games happen in shadows. If they exposed everything now, it would cause a scandal that would destroy the company and me. Amara took a deep breath. What now? We fight, but we need allies. Amara's eyes widened. Who? Clinton smiled faintly. Onyeka, she's not just a palace girl. She's been quietly gathering evidence against the board. We're going to meet her tomorrow. We need to build a coalition. Amara nodded, her fear melting into resolve. Then we start today. That night, as the village slept, two figures met quietly under the baobab tree. Onyeka, sharp and confident, handed Clinton a folder filled with documents. These are the secrets your family tried to bury, she whispered. Financial records, emails, even voice recordings. Clinton flipped through the pages, anger burning in his eyes. We have what we need, he said. But we have to be careful. One wrong move and they'll destroy us. Onyeka smiled. I'm used to walking on a knife's edge. Meanwhile, Amara faced her own battle. Neighbors who once looked at her with pity now whispered behind her back. Do you think she'll last against the Obiora family? One woman asked. Let's see if the poor girl can handle real power, another sneered. Amara clenched her fists but refused to back down. She was no longer the scared girl forced into marriage. She was a woman fighting for love, truth, and survival. As dawn broke over Umweze, a new day began. A day where secrets would be challenged, alliances forged, and the real war for Clinton's legacy unleashed. To be continued.